What's good, everybody? Greg Hickman here with the Scalable Podcast. And in today's episode, I want to talk about how do you make the transition from being a generalist to a specialist and why that is so important for you if you want to grow your business and make it more scalable and do it a whole lot faster. Let's get it going. For 3 years, my agency built funnels and automation systems for the biggest names in marketing today. Since then, I've transformed that agency into a hyper-profitable training and consulting business. While everyone is out there talking about scale like it's some sort of destination, we'll be asking the real question. How do you transform your business into a more scalable model using the knowledge, skills, and expertise that you already have? This podcast is here to give you the answer. Join me and follow along as I learn, apply, and share the strategies I'm using to build my multi-million-dollar business. My name is Greg Hickman, and welcome to Scalable. All right, my friends. So welcome back. Like I said, we're going to be talking about how to make this transition from generalist to specialist. And I want to take you through a model that I created that kind of shows you the journey from kind of maybe where you're at right now, progressing all the way up to where you kind of move through specialists and you start to become the CEO of your business, right? A business that you can control and something that is successful and can continue to scale, right? Now, but I want to kind of talk about why this is important, right? So if you're doing done-for-you services, the problem that you might be facing right now are things like dealing with scope creep, right? You sign a contract and then all of a sudden the scope changes. And at the end of the day, you don't even make that much money. It took you a lot of time. Or you're at this position where you've kind of exceeded your capacity. Like you can't take on any more clients, even if you wanted to. Thus, your revenue is capped at a certain ceiling. And so you could add 1 or 2 more clients, but the sacrifice would be you'd probably be working into the evenings or then working over the weekends just to even have a minute or two to work on your own business instead of working on your client's business, right? And if you're doing that, just adding more hours into your day, that's not the way to grow your business. And you're probably going to suffer in other areas, like in your relationships and your family and how you show up there. And maybe that's where you're at right now and you want to make the change. Great. We're going to be talking about that. If you're doing this work and you're starting to feel this, one of the things that might be common for you is, each and every client that comes in the door is getting some sort of custom result, right? You're custom creating a solution for them. And what you end up having is a couple different types of clients, maybe in different verticals, different industries, and they each have their own custom outcome. Like you're doing something different for each and every one of them. Which means that every single time you get a new client, you're creating a brand new way to solve their unique problem. And that like your solution, your process in solving their problem isn't really transferable to the next client. And it's almost like rinse and repeat. You get a new client, you're starting from scratch. It's a clean slate. You don't even know what problem they have. You don't know exactly how you're going to solve it. And then you create some custom solution. You go back and forth and they, whittle you down on price point and they say, well, we don't want those 10 services. We want those 5. So can you charge a little bit less? And now all of a sudden your new client is in control before you ever even sign the contract. And that's not really the best way to grow your business, at least if you want to become more scalable and have control and more freedom in your business. So the possibility on the flip side of that is really comes behind doing 2 different things. And we're going to dive into that here in just a second. But the kind of this model that I want to share with you is the possibility as you become more of a specialist in what you do and solve a specific problem really starts to lie in behind making 2 specific decisions. The first decision is to really simplify and get specific on your avatar. Like what type of client do you serve, right? If you serve chiropractors, agency owners, dentists, financial advisors, yoga studios, like if you serve like all of those different types of verticals, you're going to have a really difficult time in growing your business because you're so diluted, right? Any near competitor that focuses on only one of those 5 or however many I listed is going to be infinitely better than you because they have 100% of their bandwidth capacity and focus on serving that person when you only have a small percentage because you're trying to serve all these other types of clients, right? So the first key to making the transition from generalist to specialist is really just that: specialize in a particular type of client with a particular type of problem. And we'll actually have an upcoming episode where I'll share kind of a framework and a methodology that I learned that really changed our business. But we'll get to that here in an upcoming episode. But that's the first thing. It's like really simplifying the avatar. And I know many of you are going to sit there and say, but then it's harder because the pool that I'm fishing in is smaller. But the reality is, when you do that, especially in the beginning, your focus becomes so clear and narrow that you know how to serve them, how to market to them, really get inside their head, and that'll allow you to serve many of them more effectively. And you'll see the speed in which you can grow accelerate. And the second thing, so the first one is to simplify your avatar, your perfect client. And then the second is to narrow down your deliverables. Right now, your product might be you just saying the words yes. Hey, can you also do this? Yes. Hey, this is our problem. Can you help us? Yes. If your product and your service is the word yes, you're having that kind of hamster wheel of you're starting over from scratch each and every time. So we really need to narrow down your deliverables and sell an outcome, right? So let's jump into this model that I want to share with you, and we're going to dive into kind of the 4 stages that I see in this progression from generalist to specialist and really onward up into CEO. So if you're just listening along, what I want you to envision here is a triangle with kind of broken up into four levels, right? And at the bottom level, that level would be red, okay? And in that level is what I call the scavenger. So if you're just getting started in your business, you might be in this scavenger state, which to me, we're going to look at each of these levels through 3 specific lenses. And let's look at those 3 specific lenses. So we're going to first look at profitability, right? We're going to look at profit. Then S will equal systems. What do your systems look like? And then your products, right? Your products and services. So for each level of this growth, we're going to look at what your profit looks like, what your systems look like, and what your products and services look like. So at the bottom of this triangle, in the path to our 7-figure CEO, and again, the 7-figure is depending upon what your destination is, what number you're trying to reach. In order to build a scalable business, this is the progression that many of you are going to go through. So when we look at this scavenger state, right, when we're in this status, when we look at things like our profit, we're most likely losing money, right? So maybe that's you right now. Maybe you're in a position where you're losing money. If we look at systems, there are none. Everything is manual. And when it comes to products and services, you have no real clarity on what it is you serve or what it is you deliver. What do you sell, right? You're just kind of doing whatever the market needs. You're looking for, any sort of client, a pulse, someone that will give you money, right? And so you'll kind of be in this position where, okay, well, how do we move up to the next level where we actually see the next level be generalist, right? Now, you can have a fairly successful business as a generalist, depending upon what success means to you. Meaning, we've had clients that have come to us that, if by success you look at just revenue, like we've had $1 million businesses come to us, but they have almost zero profit, and the owner is still struggling, doing all of the work, but it's because they do everything, right? So you can have high revenue businesses and still be struggling if you're a generalist. Right. But oftentimes in this, if you're a service provider, you get that first client, and then you get the first couple of clients. They're not always the same. We were in that same boat. But if you want to keep growing, you're going to have to start to, like I said, narrow down on your avatar and your deliverables to really start to make that transition into specialist. Right. So what happens and how do you go from scavenger to generalist? Well, really what I've found is that the main differentiator is that there's no clarity, right? So to go from the bottom of the triangle up one level from scavenger into generalist, we really need to get clarity, right? Clarity on what it is we're selling, and who it is we're serving, right? The clarity on the specialized avatar, a little bit closer, and what it is we're actually selling. And the kind of making this leap over up one level to going is really about making that escape, right? And the thing that I've found is you have to commit to selling, right? You're not necessarily going to know, what the next stage is going to look like. You just need to go out there and start getting clients, collecting money, doing the work, and kind of focusing on what it is you can do, to just keep money coming in the door, right? Because we don't want to continue to lose money. So in the generalist level, when we really commit to selling, we're getting a little bit more clarity. When we look at that profit lens again, we're kind of in that feast and famine zone, right? Some months are good, some months are bad, but it is what it is, right? And then if we look at systems, well, they're really all consuming. And what I mean by that is we get a lot of agencies that we talk to, and they're like, all right, we're designing SOPs and we're going to have a standard operating procedure for everything that we do. And the problem is that they never do the same thing frequently enough to benefit from having the documentation in the first place, right? Because like we said, each and every time they get a new client, what they're delivering is new. So they have all this great documentation that they've spent a lot of time on creating that they're not even really using. Thus, it's really wasteful. And really, that's because your product is you saying the word yes, right? Like yes is the product. Yes equals your product or service. And so we want to make that start making that transition, right? So Scavenger, you're kind of taking anything that you can, getting a little bit of clarity on hey, this is what I'm doing. And now you're maybe doing that for a wide variety of clients, and you're starting to see more money. It's a little bit more up and down. You're trying to create systems, but it's kind of all consuming, and you want to move to the next level, right? And so the next level up is where we start to become a specialist, right? And, when we look at specialists, so in the generalist zone, what we're kind of doing here is, this is more about survival, right? Like generalist is survival. Specialist, we're starting to feel successful, right? We're starting to feel successful. And at the specialist stage, this is when we look at the profit layer, right? This is where you're going to start to see predictable profit. And you start to see that because you're selling the same thing to the same type of client, and you're starting to build a rhythm and a momentum of adding X number of clients per month, or paying you X dollars because you're on, there's some sort of retainer or monthly recurring revenue system that is having the money come in. So you're starting to get some predictability in your profits. And when it comes to systems, this is where we start to start designing self-managing systems. Now, depending upon who you are and where you're at in your business, this might be a little bit confusing, but self-managing systems, really at this stage, the self-managing systems are going to be around, sales and marketing. That's where most of your kind of predictability in your systems lie. A lot of our clients come in and they're really looking to build out the automated sales system, right? So that when they do get a client, they can focus on fulfillment, but sales and marketing won't stop, right? If you're in a client-based business, an agency right now, when you get new clients, typically your sales and marketing stop. So as we start specializing, we want to start designing systems first around sales, a structure around fulfillment, and then also start working on our systems around marketing, right? So that's where our systems start to be focused. And lastly, from a products, we have products as solutions, right? Products as solutions. So at the specialist level, through the three lenses, we're looking at predictable profit, self-managing systems around sales, delivery, and fulfillment, or sales, delivery, and marketing. And our products, we're actually selling outcomes. We're selling solutions versus, hey, here's a service menu of things that we can do. Which one works for you, right? When you start getting into the specialist zone, you're going to start to see some momentum, right? And when it comes to, look, you can be at this specialist zone. And what we've seen is a lot of people are very happy being in this specialist zone. and that's where they want to stay. And that's why right here we have, the division between, specialists and the top part of the pyramid where we have, now you're a CEO, right? So again, looking at this pyramid from a whole, we have scavenger on the bottom, generalist, the next level, then specialist, and at the tippy top of the pyramid, the fourth section is CEO. Now, in order to go from specialist to CEO, you need to kind of say to yourself, look, I need to kind of go beyond this good enough line, right? Maybe you're doing some consistent revenue. You're kind of maybe getting comfortable there. But if you want to keep growing and be able to step out of your business and have other people start to run it and all of that great stuff, you need to kind of transition into the CEO role. And so this is where making the jump from specialist to CEO really comes down to letting go, right? So you got to start letting go of things. You got to start delegating, right? And the CEO zone is where you start to find, controlling. So in generalist, we're in survival. Specialist, we're starting to feel successful. And when we hit to this CEO, we're controlling this ship, right? We're making moves, we're moving this thing, we're moving our team and all of that. So at the CEO level, what does profit look like? Well, it's not just predictable, but it's amplified. We have amplified profits, right? And then when it comes to systems, they're not just self-managing, it's self-correcting. And when it comes to your products, you now have multiple, likely multiple revenue streams. You have some front-end offers, you have some back-end offers, you have some recurring revenue, things like that allow you to grow, right? So there are these different levels, and those three layers or lenses that we've been looking through: profit, systems, and products. We have amplified products, self-correcting systems, and then multiple revenue streams. Self-correcting to me means the team who's operating the systems and kind of helping the systems move efficiently, that doesn't always boil back up to me as the CEO. There's people in sales and marketing and delivery and client success that are kind of being notified that something's broken, and then they're able to go and make those decisions and move on behalf of the business because our goals are clear. We all know where we're going together as a team. So this is where you really start having to let go and delegate things to different people. Self-managing and self-correcting when it comes to systems, right? Systems are kind of powered by people too, right? When I think of an automated business, as long as you, the owner, aren't doing it, it's automated, right? And so, systems might be a combination of people, process, automation, different pieces of technology, right? But your team is going to be able to self-correct a lot of these things. And this is the journey that we've been on. We've kind of been moving up this pyramid ourselves, and the pyramid that a lot of our clients are moving up as well. And really, we want to focus on, again, that profitability, because revenue sounds great, but you can have a really good business and as the owner still not be paying yourself. If we're in this and we want to have the life and be able to, support our families and our communities and all that stuff, as the owner, you got to be making sure you're making the money and keeping some money so that you can keep growing your business, right? So these are the kind of four levels that we have as we're trying to evolve from, early stage business into the CEO of our business, right? The CEO's, we'll call it 7-figure journey, the scalable business journey, moving from generalist to specialist. And again, the two things that you really need to start thinking about to start making that transition from generalist to specialist so that eventually you can move to CEO is to simplify down your avatar, who are you serving, and narrow down your deliverables. What are you selling? What's the outcome? Selling an outcome and not just selling the word yes, right? Because your model is greater than your menu. So I hope you guys found this episode valuable. In order to kind of design a business that serves you and not the other way around, we want to really start moving towards being that specialist if we're not already. And if you are already in that specialist zone, it's time to start designing the systems around you to remove yourself from the areas where you might be the bottleneck so that you can start up-leveling and start acting as CEO of your business, right? Really, guys, the difference that I see between entrepreneurs and CEOs CEOs have systems in place and they focus on them. And that's why we help our clients really start to do that. So really start looking at your business through these 3 lenses, understand where you're at in this journey and the things that you need to focus on as you make this transition from generalist to specialist. So again, if you found this episode valuable, we would love a rating and review in iTunes. Make your way on over there. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing to that channel so you don't miss any episode. They come out every single week, 2 times a week. And thank you guys. Love what you guys what you're sharing so far on these episodes. We really appreciate you, and we're having a great time kicking this show off. I know it's early, but we got a long ways to go. And so make sure you're subscribed on all channels, and we'll keep rocking it out. Take care.